Want to call to order the Planning and Zoning Commission of December 15th, 2022. We'll all rise for the invocation and the pledge to the flag.
Thank you.
Lord, we ask you to be with us, to give us the wisdom to make the decisions today that will be pleasing in your sight. We pray this in thy most holy name. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, now before we get down.
Okay, fellow commissioners, you have before you the minutes of the November 17th meeting. Are there any additions or corrections to those minutes? If not, I'll hear a motion for approval.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes from the last meeting.
I have a motion. Do I hear a second?
I second.
All in favor signify by saying aye and raise your right hand.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. All right. Dan, if you'll explain to the folks here how we do business.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to welcome everyone to the December 15, 2022 City of Leesburg Planning Commission meeting. My name is Dan Miller, Planning and Zoning Director for the City of Leesburg. Staff present today includes Sabrina Mitchell, our Administrative Assistant to my left, Senior Planners Candy Harper, Christine Rock, and Diane Pastwitz, as well as Planners Max Van Allen and Melissa Metters. Today's meeting agenda is available on the table by the exit door. If you wish to speak on a case, we would ask that you would please sign the speaker's registry and turn it into Sabrina sitting on my left. I believe the registry is back on the table back here. Under the rules of participation, the meeting is conducted under the following process. The chairman will announce the case. Staff will read exhibits, including maps, photos, and text, into the record and present this information on the screens. Staff will then read a recommendation into the record. The applicant will have the opportunity to speak about their application, and the chairman will then allow time for public comments. The applicant will have a time for rebuttal. The chairman will then close the case to the public. The commission will discuss the case, a vote will be taken, and the commission will move on to the next case. Planning Commission is a citizen-appointed board. The Planning Commission is a citizen board appointed by the City Commission. They are charged with two major responsibilities. The first is final decisions for cases such as variances and conditional uses. You'll note that we have two conditional uses on our agenda this evening. Planning Commission also makes recommendations for issues that will be heard by the City Commission, and there are, I believe, 4 of those on tonight. So today we have those, and those recommendations are then forwarded to the City Commission for a final decision. We'd like to ask you to note that there are tentative dates on the agenda which are listed in bold. These dates are subject to change to earlier or later dates, so please check with the Planning and Zoning staff or the City Clerk's office regarding the final hearing dates. And then finally, on behalf of the staff and the Leesburg Planning Commission, we want to thank you for your participation in today's public hearing process. Mr. Chairman, we're ready to be sworn in and to announce the first case.
Thank you. Anyone here that plans on speaking on any of these issues on the agenda? If you do, please rise so we can swear you in.
Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you. All right. We're going to start with old business. We had a couple of items that were postponed from the last meeting. Public hearing case LSCP 22462, Blue Cedar Large-Scale Comp Plan Amendment.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The next two cases, LGSP 22462, Blue Cedar Large-Scale Comprehensive Plan Amendment, goes along with the following case of 22463, which is Blue Cedar PUD zoning. If we may tackle those
Please.
under the presentation as one. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. By background, this is a proposal for property generally located east of US 27 and south of the Florida Turnpike and south of Blue Cedar Road, as seen on the screen. It contains approximately 109 acres, and the request is to annex the property into the city of Leesburg. Change the future land use, that's number one. Number two, change the future land use designation from Lake County Regional Office to City of Leesburg Neighborhood Mixed Use. And then third, to change the zoning from Lake County Agricultural to City of Leesburg Planned Unit Development. Again, overall, this is 109 plus or minus acres. The request has 315 total units at a density of 2.8 units per acre, with an additional 350,000 square feet of commercial office and institutional uses. Under the breakdown there, you'd have 81 acres of residential, meaning 118 plus or minus single-family attached, which would be your townhomes, 140 detached single-family with 50-foot lots, and 48 square-foot detached 55-foot lots. And we're working with a number of 315, and what we're saying is they can go up and down on any of those unit numbers by 10% as long as they do not exceed the 315 unit total. There are design and architectural standards for all the homes, dark sky lighting requirements, which, as you recall, is the shielding of light onto the property so it does not detract or interfere with neighboring properties. There are gutter requirements, which we've begun placing on all our PUDs the last few months. Landscape and buffer requirements with landscaping, you'll see on the site plan that we'll show you later. With the wetlands preserved, 35% open space, trees in each yard, irrigation controls, the requirements for low water usage type of grasses such as Bermuda, Bahia, or Zoysia, 2.36 acres of recreational areas. This site plan shows two different recreational areas, one on the north side, one on the south, to be constructed at 50 and 80% of the certificate of occupancies. So with that background, I'd like to ask Candy Harper, our senior planner, to present the maps and photo exhibits, which will include the aerial zoning, future land use, surrounding land use, wetlands, flood zone, and CRA maps.
Thank you, Mr. Miller. On the screen in front of you is an aerial that shows where the property is located just south of the hospital, just south of Blue Cedar Road. So this is extreme South Leesburg, where this property is located. Next slide, please. And you'll see the zoning is for the hospital. We have planned unit development zoning just above it. And if you were to scoot up, when our maps get updated, you'll see the rest of the planned unit developments around it. Next slide, please. And Lake County zoning around it is agriculture and commercial to some extent. And the proposed zoning is planned unit development, mixed use planned unit development. And the future land use north of it, and actually a little bit west of it, is commercial. And Lake County future land use, let me read this purple one, it's kind of interesting. They call it regional office. So even this far south on 27, the county saw it as regional office. You can imagine that the intensity would increase there, if not the density. Next slide. So we're proposing neighborhood mixed use, future land use, because it will have a commercial component as well as residential. And it is surrounded by commercial to the north with the hospital. This is their commercial facilities, timber in Orange Grove, and more timber and a hotel motel down here, a little bit of residential, and then commercial lying to the west. And there are wetlands that they'll have to deal with a little bit on the property on the northeast side, just a little bit, and then down south they've taken that into account in their lot layout and plat design. Next slide, please. And the flood zones pretty much follow the wetland areas. They will have to build to flood standards in those areas where they can build at all. And it'll be in Commission District 3. And we did go and post the property. It actually fronts Blue Cedar to the north. So we posted shooting into the site. At the top shows our posting, and the bottom shows shooting into the site. So it is wooded. And then we took pictures looking south on 27 and looking west across the street. So that first posting was on 27. It's all coming back to me now. Top picture is looking north on 27. And then this posting is actually on Blue Cedar. And you'll see in the next pictures that it is wooded. And this is a 2-lane blacktop running by the hospital, which is right there. That's looking west on Blue Cedar at the bottom. On the top is looking north on Blue Cedar, which goes into a big vacant area right behind the hospital. And then the bottom picture is looking east on Blue Cedar Road. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Candy. With that, we move to the departmental review summary. Project was sent to all city departments, including Lake County Public Works and Lake County School Board. We received no substantive comments from the departments. The school board did note that the project would be subject to school concurrency review. No responses to the public notice requirements other than a couple of phone calls and wondering when and where the meeting would be. We'd like to, at this point, read the 2 recommendations into the record, Mr. Chairman, if we may.
Please.
For large-scale comp plan amendment for Blue Cedar Investments, LSCP 22-462, the Planning and Zoning Division recommends approval of the request for the following reasons. 1, the project meets the requirements of Chapter 163.3184 Florida statutes for large-scale comp plan amendments. 2, the proposed request as conditioned in City of Leesburg, case number PUD 22463, is compatible with the adjacent future land use designations of City of Leesburg General Commercial and with Lake County Regional Office and Urban Low Density. 3, the proposed request as conditioned in City of Leesburg, case number PUD 22463, is compatible with the current surrounding zoning districts of City of Leesburg PUD, which is Plan Unit Development, and SPUD, which is Small Plan Unit Development, and with Lake County CP, which is Planned Commercial, C1 Neighborhood Commercial, and A Agriculture. 4, the proposed request as conditioned in the City of Leesburg, 4, the proposed future land use designation for the site is consistent with the city's growth management plan, future land use element, Goal 1, Objective 1.6, and the action requested for this large-scale comp plan is to vote to approve this large-scale comp plan designation from Lake County Regional Office to City of Leesburg Neighborhood Mixed Use and forward this recommendation to the City Commission for their consideration. Under the Blue Cedar project request rezoning to PUD, case number PUD 22-463, the Planning and Zoning Division recommends approval of the request for the following reasons. 1, the proposed request as conditioned in City of Leesburg, case number PUD 22463, is compatible with the current surrounding zoning districts of City of Leesburg PUD Plan Unit Development and City of Leesburg SPUD Small Plan Unit Development, Lake County CP Plan Commercial, C1 Neighborhood Commercial, and County A Agriculture. 2, the proposed request as conditioned in City of Leesburg, case number PUD 22-463, is compatible with the adjacent future land use designations of City of Leesburg General Commercial and Lake County Regional Office and Urban Low Density. 3, the proposed future land use designation for the site is consistent with the city's growth management plan, future land use element Goal 1, Objective 1.6, and the action requested is to vote to approve the rezoning from Lake County A Agriculture to City of Leesburg PUD Planned Unit Development and forward the recommendation to the City Commission for their consideration. Do we have a copy of the site plan in the packet, in the PowerPoint? I think it's toward the back of the PUD. Yes, there we go. I don't know if there's a way to turn that, well, actually, it's good right as it is. Thank you. If you can look, Mr. Chairman, here's Highway 27. There's the turnpike running across here. These two red squares represent the commercial areas of approximately a little under 10 acres here. The remaining property here is the residential. The wetlands, as you saw on the wetland and flood zone maps, are closely matched with the areas here. The darker area near the commercial site are the proposed townhouse areas. These two green areas, this one on the north, this one on the south, are the recreation areas. And then you have the yellow, which would be our 55-foot lots, and the medium orange here, which would be the 50-foot lots. Coming off of 27, this is a boulevard entrance with the landscaping down the middle. So from a staff standpoint, they've done a good job with the design, and we are recommending approval. Ms. Carolyn Haslam of the Ackerman law firm in Orlando is here to answer any questions. Mr. Craig Harris is here, and as well as Mr. Phil Martinez of Poulos and Bennett. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Dan. Does the applicant have any comment or any statements?
Hi, Carolyn Haslam with Ackerman. We have read the staff report and listened to the presentation, read through the PUD conditions of approval, and we agree with staff, and we're here to answer any questions. Thank you.
The commission have any questions of the applicant?
Yes. What are the home
Please speak into the microphone. Thank you.
What are the home prices for the townhomes, the different levels of the homes that you have on the site?
My client isn't a home builder, so we're just looking at the development now, but we don't have any specifics in mind. So we haven't identified a person that would come in and develop them, so we don't know what the home prices would be. So.
Okay.
Thank you.
Any other commission questions? Any questions of staff? Anyone here in the audience that would like to speak to this, please? I have one person here, Jannie May.
I think they've already answered.
You have to come to the microphone, Miss May, and speak and identify yourself and where you live.
Hi, I'm Janine May. I live at 21938 US Highway 27, which is the adjacent property on 27.
Okay.
I've
That
got
would
about
be to the south?
to the south.
To the south,
Yes.
okay.
I've lived there about 40 years,
Mm-hmm.
and it's been a great place to live. I lost my husband a couple of years ago, so it's not near as much fun anymore.
Yeah.
So I came mostly because I was concerned about the turtles. I will probably sell that property shortly anyway, just because it's not any fun for me living there by myself.
Yes, ma'am.
But I was mostly just curious about everything, and we were talking before the meeting started, and they pretty much answered my questions.
Okay, so you were satisfied with the information you've received?
Yeah, I think it's exciting.
Well.
I'm more concerned about when they're going to widen 27 than...
So are we.
I've been waiting 40 years, though. How long have you been waiting?
I was hunting out in that area 40 years ago. I'm very familiar with it.
Thank you.
I have a quick question for you, ma'am. Are you in the old Koss house, K-O-S-S? Koss Manor was the little motel that was there, and the owners lived to the north?
the motel's south of me.
Okay, okay,
Yeah,
gotcha.
this is just a little house that got a special permission to build because they didn't have 5 acres. They only had like 4.5.
I got you, okay.
She worked at the post office, and he drove a truck.
It has no difference in this vote. I just was curious.
Yeah.
Thank you.
No.
Friend of both of ours. Okay, any discussion amongst the commission? No questions of the commission, no questions of staff, no questions of legal counsel? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion.
I'd like to make a motion to approve case number LSCP 22-468.
I have a motion for approval. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
I have a second. All in favor signify by saying aye and raise your right hand.
Aye.
May I, Mr. Chairman, I wanted to clarify something. You were looking, Mr. Sanders, you were looking at case number 22462.
224, LSCP 22-462.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Got the right one?
Yes, sir. I misheard. Thank you.
Thank you. Motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye. Raise your right hand. All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. We'll go to the rezoning. That would be PUD, no, that's 22463.
Right.
I will entertain a motion.
I would like to make a motion to approve PUD -22-463.
I have a motion. Do I hear a second?
Second.
I have a second. All in favor signify by saying aye and raise your right hand.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Moving right along. Under new business, warehouse, Flatwood, small scale comp plan amendment, SSCP 22493.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is an industrial comprehensive plan and PUD, which is being requested on behalf of an existing successful business here in Leesburg, Metal Structures Company USA. They're currently located on Griffin Road. They manufacture metal sheds, carports, buildings, staff. I think myself and Christine actually had the opportunity to tour their facility some time ago. Again, this is proposal for property generally located west of Flatwood Roads, north of Castine, and south of Parkway Boulevard. It contains approximately 11 acres. The request, this property is already in the city, and the request is to change the future land use designation from low density to industrial, and request a change in the zoning from R2 medium density residential to PUD, which would be planned unit development. We've got 11.84 plus or minus acres. The request is for 45,000 square feet of industrial uses as allowed as seen on the proposed site plan. There are design and architectural standards, dark sky lighting, landscape buffers around the property, natural buffers, the open space requirements, irrigation controls for any grasses, any new grasses that need to be introduced. Candy Harper, senior planner, will present the maps and exhibits, including the aerial zoning, future land use, surrounding land use, wetlands, flood zone maps, and CRA maps at this time.
Thank you, Mr. Miller. On the screen in front of you is a locator map that shows you State Road 44 west of town. And this is Flatwoods coming off of 44. And the zoning is currently residential. It's R2, but it's surrounded by industrial. And Lake County is agricultural out in that area with a little bit of residential right there. The proposed zoning is planned unit development for industrial uses. And you can see the future land use matches the zoning, or rather the zoning matches the future land use. Low density residential and industrial. And Lake County future land use shows rural out here, but it's rapidly developing. A little bit of urban density over on the side, and the proposed future land use is industrial. And let's go to, my maps are out of order. So the proposed future land use is industrial. Next slide, please. And the surrounding land uses, industrial to the north with residential lying to the east, and a church, that's Reverend Danny's church over there, and residential to the south and timber to the west. And there will be some wetland issues, as well as some flood zones to deal with in development. And it will be in Commission District 3. And this map is in there just to show you where the city limits are out there. So you can see that there are kind of holes in it out there, and then south of it is all Lake County. And then we did post the site. So there's a little house right behind it. And that's the posting of the site, and then that's shooting into the site, which would be looking west. And then that is looking south on Flatwood Road, so to the north, and looking east on Flatwoods on the south. And looking south on Flatwoods, which is a 2-lane blacktop. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Candy. Moving on to the departmental review summary. Again, it was sent out, the project was sent out to all the different departments, including Lake County Public Works and the school board. We received no responses, any substantive responses from them. And of course, the school board would note that it's exempt from school concurrency. Did not receive any responses from the posted signs and newspaper advertisements about the meeting. We'd like to go ahead, if we could, and read these two recommendations into the record, Mr. Chairman.
Carry on, please.
For Metal Structures Company USA, Warehouse Flatwood Small Scale Comp Plan Amendment, case number SSCP 22-493, Planning and Zoning Division is recommending approval of the request for the following reasons. One, the use of the property meets the requirements of Chapter 163.3187 Florida statutes for small-scale comprehensive plan amendments. Two, the proposed future land use designation of City of Leesburg Industrial is compatible with the current surrounding future land use categories of City of Leesburg Industrial and Lake County Agriculture. Three, the proposed future land use designation of industrial is compatible with the proposed zoning of City of Leesburg PUD Plan Unit Development and does not appear to create a detriment to the adjacent Lake County future land use categories of Lake County Rural and Industrial. Four, the proposed future land use designation for the site is consistent with the city's growth management plan, future land use element goal 1, objective 1.6. The action requested is to vote to approve the staff's recommendation to change the future land use of the subject property from low-density residential to industrial and forward to the City Commission for their consideration. Under case number PUD 22-495, rezoning from R2 medium-density residential to PUD planned unit development for Warehouse Flatwoods, Planning and Zoning Division is recommending approval of this request for the following reasons. One, as conditioned in the PUD, the proposed request is compatible with the current surrounding zoning districts of M1 industrial and R3 high-density residential and does not appear to create a detriment to the surrounding properties. Two, the proposed zoning district of PUD planned unit development, as conditioned, is compatible with the adjacent existing future land use categories of City of Leesburg industrial and low density and with Lake County rural future land use category. Three, the rezoning of the subject property is consistent with the city's growth management plan, future land use element goal 1 and objective 1.6. The action requested is to vote to approve staff's recommendation to change the future land use of the subject property from, change the zoning of the subject property from R2 medium density to M1 industrial and forward it to the City Commission for their consideration. And Mr. Ryan Solstice of LPG of Mount Dora is here to represent the applicants and answer any questions you have. Mr. Chairman, staff is recommending approval.
Thank you, sir. Carry on, sir, and introduce yourself to the commission.
Ryan Solstice, 1162 Camp Avenue, Mount Dora, with LPG on behalf of my client. As requested, we're asking for a rezoning from R2 to a PUD with the conditions of the M1 zoning district, which is the industrial zoning district within the city of Leesburg, and a small-scale comprehensive plan amendment to change the future land use from low-density residential to industrial within the city of Leesburg.
Yes, sir.
And at this time, we'll be happy to answer any questions regarding the concept plan or the.
I see how you've dealt with the wetlands there by moving everything to the west into the property.
Correct. And at site plan, the pond will be designed to, there is actually on site right now an irrigation ditch, upland irrigation ditch, which I had a conversation with Tim Talbert at Stillwater Environmental, which will be filled, but the pond will be designed at site plan to accommodate the flood zone that the property is currently located in addition to the wetland that's in the far west portion of the property.
These warehouses, I see you have on the site plan 5 of them.
There are four industrial buildings and one 5,000 square foot office building for their staff, and then the actual manufacturing of the carports will be done in said industrial buildings.
Okay, so it's just you there.
No.
Okay.
I'm
well,
representing.
I understand that. I understand that. But it's still just one business in this facility. I just wanted to clarify that. Any other questions from the commission? Any questions of staff? Any questions of legal counsel? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion. Oh, excuse me. Anyone out in the audience that wants to comment on this at all? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion. On SCP 22493. Carry on.
Regarding SCP 22493, I make a motion to accept the proposal.
I have a motion for approval. Do I hear a second?
I second.
I have a second. All in favor signify by saying aye and raise your right hand.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Now I'll listen to a motion on PUD 22495.
I'll make a motion to approve PUD 22-495.
A motion for approval. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
I have a second. All in favor signify by saying aye and raise your right hand. All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Okay. We're moving right along here to public hearing case CUP 22516, Waitman Duplex, conditional use permit. Director?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. For CUP 22-215 Waitman Triplex, conditional use permit. This property is 2308 Waitman Avenue, generally located east of Stinson Street and north of Waitman. It's at the northeast corner of Stinson Street and Waitman Avenue. The request is for a conditional use permit in the low-density future land use category to allow a triplex. The current zoning on this property is R2, which is medium-density residential, and the future land use is low-density. The comprehensive plan of the city does require any request for a duplex or a triplex, which is within the low-density future land use category, to apply for and receive a conditional use permit. That's the situation for this case and the following. They're both in R2 medium-density residential, and they're both in the low-density future land use category. This property is owned by Dr. Erica Jasper, and the plan is to construct a unit which fits in with the overall character of the area. There are other multiple unit homes in the area, particularly immediately, I believe, to the south on this one. Candy Harper, Senior Planner, will present the maps and exhibits for this case at this time, including the zoning, future land use, surrounding land use, flood zones, wetlands, CRA, and commission district.
Thank you, Mr. Miller. The map before you shows where the property is located at the corner of Stinson and Waitman. Next slide, please. And the zoning surrounding it is all residential. It's all R2. The future land use is low-density residential, and it's surrounding the property. The surrounding land uses are all residential. And there's flood zones in the area, but not on the property. And it is inside a community redevelopment area. That's Carver Heights, CRA. And it is in Commission District 2. We did post the site twice because it is on two streets. So there is the first posting we did, I believe. That's looking east into the property, and that's looking south on Stinson. Looking west on Stinson, and then looking north on Stinson. Then we scurried around the corner and posted the property again. The bottom picture is looking east on Waitman. Top picture is looking south on Waitman, and the bottom picture is looking west on Waitman. And you get the feeling that it is a residential area. Thank you, Mr. Miller.
Thank you, Candy. Moving on to the departmental review summary. Again, these projects were sent out to all the different city departments and Lake County School Board for review. The city departments and school board had no comments. We did receive one response from a surrounding property owner concerning that they stated they would be concerned to bring down the value of her property. At this time, I'd like to read the recommendation for this case into the record for Dr. Erica Jasper, Waitman Triplex, CUP, conditional use permit, CUP 22-515. Planning and Zoning Division is recommending approval of this request for the following reasons. One, this request meets the criteria set forth in section 25-141, conditional uses of the City of Leesburg Code of Ordinances for the granting of a conditional use permit to allow for construction of a duplex. Two, the conditional use for the subject property is consistent with the city's adopted growth management plan, future land use element goal 1, objective 1.6. Three, subject to the conditions listed below, the proposed conditional use does not appear to be a detrimental impact to the surrounding properties. Those conditions are including to allow one triplex unit, which is 3 units in one structure, in an R2 medium density residential zoning district, which comes under section 25-141 and 25-284 of the City of Leesburg Code of Ordinances. The conditional use permit will be subject to all City of Leesburg Code requirements, including zoning and building code regulations. If the property is transferred or leased at any time in the future, these conditions shall be included in the transfer or lease agreement so that the purchaser or lessee is made good and aware of the conditions stated herein. Deviations or changes from those conditions may be revised through the procedures in the city's Code of Ordinances. The granting of this conditional use permit does not exempt the applicant from other applicable regulations of the City of Leesburg and government agencies, including impact fees. Standard language violation of the said conditions may result in permit becoming null and void. And then finally, the conditional use permit has to be executed by the applicant in our office within 90 days. So the action requested is vote to approve the request for a conditional use permit for the subject property to allow a triplex residential development based on compliance with the conditions stated herein. Ms. Chairman, Dr. Erica Jasper of Leesburg is a property owner, and she is here to answer any questions you may have. Staff is recommending approval.
Good evening, Commission. I'm here to address any questions or concerns you may have.
Yes, state your name and where you live.
I'm Dr. Erica Jasper. I live at 2110 Johns Avenue, Leesburg, Florida.
Any questions of the applicant? I don't believe we have any questions for you, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any questions of the staff? Any questions among the commission? Any discussion amongst the commission? Any questions on legal counsel? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion on CUP 22515.
I'd like to make a motion that we approve CUP 22-515.
Have a motion. Do I hear a second?
Second.
I have a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All
Aye.
opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Ma'am, you're permitted to build, subject to the conditions, as you well know.
Thank you.
All right.
One more to go, Mr. Chairman.
Go ahead.
CUP 22-516, this is Waitman Duplex. Same thing, except this one's 2107 Waitman. Proposal for conditional use permit for a duplex, which is located south of Waitman Avenue and east of Talladega, as we said, on 2107. It's the exact same situation that we spoke of before. We have an R2 medium-density residential zoning and a low-density future land use, and our comp plan statement in the low-density future land use that says we have to go for a conditional use permit. Candy Harper, would you please present the maps and photo exhibits, including the aerial zoning, future land use, surrounding land use, wetlands, flood zones, and CRA maps?
Thank you, Mr. Miller. So on the screen before you is a locator showing where the property is located, south of Waitman and east of Talladega. You'll see the property surrounding it is all R2. It's a little bit of public just north of it, but it's mostly residential out there. The future land use shows low-density residential, tiny bit of transitional to the south. The surrounding land uses are all residential, either multifamily or single family, all around the property. And there are wetlands and flood zones in the area, but not on the property. And it's in the Carver Heights Community Redevelopment Area. And it also is in Commission District 2. And this one just had one street frontage, so we showed you where we posted it. And then the bottom picture is looking west on Waitman. Top picture is looking north on Waitman. And the bottom picture is looking east on Waitman. You get the feeling that it is a thoroughly residential neighborhood and well established. Thank you.
Thank you, Candy. Moving to the departmental review summary, the project was sent out to all the city departments and Lake County Public Works and Lake County Schools. There were no specific comments received back. From the public responses, we did receive one written response for approval, had no comments on it, but was one comment for approval. And then would like to go ahead and read that one into the record, please. For Waitman Duplex CUP, conditional use permit number 22-516. This property is owned by Ms. Bertha Hill. Planning and Zoning Division is recommending approval of the request for the following reasons. And these are the exact same reasons that I read previously, if I may. Would that be
Please.
okay? Do I need to read it?
Please, just ditto.
So it's a ditto. It's the same
Yes.
reasons, same request. I will say that the property owner is Ms. Bertha Hill. She is here. I believe she may be being represented by Ms. Erica Jasper, who happens to be her daughter.
Okay. Good afternoon. State your name and where you reside.
I'm Bertha Hill. I live at 2110 Johns Avenue,
Yes, ma'am.
Leesburg.
Anyone have any questions of the applicant? Any questions of staff? Any questions of legal counsel? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion on CUP 22516.
I'll do it. I'd like to make an motion for approval for CUP-22-516.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
I second it.
I have a second. All in favor signify by saying aye and raise your right hand.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you, ma'am.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir.
This is our last meeting of 2022. I'd like to thank my staff who has worked very hard this year. I'd like to thank our city attorney who's done such a great job, and I'd like to thank the Planning Commission, the best Planning Commission that anyone could ask for. Thank you all, and Merry Christmas and Happy New Year.
Why, you silver-tongued devil. Dan, thank you. It's been a pleasure working with you all year long. It's been a pleasure working with all of you commissioners. Even though we have kind of a new commission compared to the year before, but we've gotten through it, and I want to compliment you all. Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, and may God bless each and every one of y'all. If there's nothing anybody else wants to add before the commission, we will adjourn. Thank you.
That was